So ask yourself, are the agents that are in your life, your friends, your family member, were they at the conference? I hope that they were. I hope I saw them there. I hope I met them there, which is one of the biggest reasons I went to this conference. Welcome to my classroom. I'm Chris Collette, the real estate professor. And if you were paying attention to any of my social, you probably saw that this fall I spent some time in Dallas. Look, I'm not a gigantic Texas fan, but sometimes you gotta go where you gotta go, and the greatest real estate conference is every year, and this year it just happened to be in Dallas, so that's where I was. I made a joke about it at the time, but this is the sort of real estate conference that tends to draw the greatest real estate agents in the country. So ask yourself, are the agents that are in your life, your friends, your family member, were they at the conference? I hope that they were. I hope I saw them there. I hope I met them there, which is one of the biggest reasons I went to this conference. When I go to conferences like this, my goal is to meet as many agents from across the country as I can, to learn about their businesses, to learn how they work with their own clients for a couple of reasons, but one very specific biggest reason. And it's because you watching this right now, next year, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, you might think, hey, I really want to move to San Francisco. I really want to move to Washington. I really want to move to Texas. I really want to move to New Hampshire. If you're thinking about moving somewhere else, or a job takes you there, or just life takes you there, you're probably going to want to buy a house there. But you don't know anybody, and Google can be a little bit misleading sometimes between ads and reviews and stuff like that. You want to know that whoever you're going to work with, you can trust. So what I do is I build out a really big network. I have agents in every single state that I know that I would trust to help me buy or sell my own home. So if you're thinking about moving somewhere, reach out to me and my team. I would love to introduce you to some of the best agents across the country. So I want to give you a few examples. So if you know me, you probably know that I haven't been in real estate my whole life. I spent about 8 years out of college working for Kaplan, the education company. Think Kaplan Test Prep, SAT, ACT Prep. I used to be a teacher. Well, two of my very best friends from that company moved to Chicago, and they wanted to buy a house. So they reached out to me and they said, Chris, we want to know a little bit more about multifamily investing, and also, do you know anybody in Chicago that you would trust to help us find a home? I said, yeah, absolutely, I do, because there's an exceptional agent in Chicago, part of the Moda Group, that I recommended. It took all of like 2 weeks for them to find a house in Chicago. Consider that the average buyer right now writes between 5 and 10 offers. They found a house like that because they worked with the right agent. I have another friend of mine, I think most of you probably also know, that I've spent the last 10 years or so playing disc golf. Playing at a pretty high level, making a lot of great friends and connections in that sport. Well, I have a friend who has to sell a home on the Atlantic coast up in Maine, up in Kittery. He doesn't want to trust his family home that's been in his family for 250 years to just Joe Schmo random real estate agent. Let's find the best agent. He reached out to me and said, hey, you don't happen to know anybody. Actually, I think what he said was, hey, Chris, do you work in Maine? Can you help us sell this home? I said, look, it's a little too far away. It's not where I specialize, but I know somebody who can. And their home is now listed, and this is a home in the millions. So this is a critically important home to their family, and now they're working with the best agent in that market. Third one, so I think people know that I, back in college, used to play a ton of racquetball. Well, I did that and made a lot of friends in the Eastern Collegiate Racquetball Conference. Well, a couple of my friends who went to RPI out in New York are now living in the Boston, New Hampshire area, but they had to sell their house in New Hampshire. I helped them sell their home in New Hampshire, and they've just recently moved down to North Carolina. How were they ever going to find a home in North Carolina? Well, it turns out there's a lot of people moving from New England to the Carolinas, just really for the better weather and the lower cost of living. So I have a lot of connections down there, depending on where you're looking. This one happened to be in the Raleigh area, to the best agent, the best team in that area. So I was able to connect them, and they're buying a brand new construction home. A beautiful, huge house that probably would have been 3 times as expensive up here, but it's in North Carolina, so it's gorgeous, and they got it for a third the price. The fourth one, so I have a client who's actually an investor. He buys a lot of multifamily buildings in the greater sort of Worcester area. But that doesn't mean that he lives in them. He's got his own home that he lives in New York, but he wanted to buy a second home, sort of a vacation home in Long Island. He didn't really know anybody in that area, but I've sent a lot of clients to the Long Island, sort of out in the Sound area. So I connected him with another agent from Compass, and they were able to find not one, but 2 separate houses that made perfect options for them. One of which they had the offer accepted on pretty quickly, and now they're going to have this beautiful vacation home on the beach in Long Island, and they didn't have to fight for months to get an offer accepted because they worked with the right agent. The last one I'm going to tell you about is much more personal to me. So my own mother just moved back to Florida. She's bounced back and forth a couple of times from Florida to New England, but when she's gone down there, she needed to find a house. I connected her with a Compass team down there, Carpenter Kessel, and I connected her with an agent named Millie, who's a fantastic realtor in that area. She was able to find a home, and I'm not kidding you. She was down there, she looked at one house, wrote an offer, had it accepted. Like, that is unheard of in this market, but because she worked with the right agent, it allowed her to get an offer accepted like that. So if you're thinking about moving, normally I end these videos with, if you're thinking about moving to Massachusetts or New Hampshire, honestly, I got to change it. If you're thinking about moving anywhere in the United States, reach out to me and my team. I would love to connect you to whoever the best agent is in that area. There's a good chance I already know who they are. Reach out to me with any questions, and I'll see you all next week. I'm Chris Collette, the Real Estate Professor.